Hi, this is Dr. Bev Knox, and I am here today to talk to you about the major models in psychology, okay? And it's just a brief overview, okay? You guys, I know, have read chapter 1 and 2, and it has gone over some of the major models in psychology, but for your quiz, I'm here to prep you, okay? So the 5 major models in psychology, first being psychodynamic perspective, and models are called perspectives, okay? So your psychodynamic or psychoanalytic perspective is one, and you could take notes, take notes if you wish. And then we have the cognitive perspective, the behavioral perspective, your bio-neurosciences, and humanistic, okay? So these are the 5, and I'm going to talk a little bit about, each one of them, okay? There are so many other perspectives in psychology, but I'm only going to talk about these 5 right now. So I want you to associate your psychoanalytic perspective with Freud, okay? I love, not playing, but I love, connect the word, do the little word association, because that'll help you guys on your quiz, okay? So when you see psychoanalytic or psychodynamic, think of Freud for a minute, okay? When you think of Freud, I want you guys to think of the subconscious or the unconscious conflicts, okay? Also, think of past experiences and childhood experiences, because that perspective deals a lot with childhood experiences. So we all know that, positive things could happen in childhood and negative things could happen in childhood. We know that, right? Okay, so what are some positive things that could happen in childhood? Go ahead. I'll give you a second just to jot some things down. Some positive things that can happen in childhood. And in another video, I'm going to be talking about nature, nurture, what it is, and the importance of it, okay? So nurture starts off in the womb. We know that, right? So while mommy's pregnant, nurture starts, okay? It's environmental influences. And you say, well, if it's environmental influences, why does it begin in the womb? Shouldn't it begin when the baby's born? Well, no, because mommy creates an environment in her belly for baby, okay? So if mom smokes, baby smokes. If mom, drinks, guess what? It affects the baby. If mom is totally stressed out, that affects the baby. Okay, so a lot of things mom does affects the baby, and it could be negative or positive. That was some negative things, right? What are some positive things that can happen when mom is pregnant? I'll give you a minute. You're absolutely right. Okay, so if mom actually, takes her prenatal vitamins and go to the doctor regularly, that's wonderful. If mom is happy, baby's happy, right? Sure. Mom sings to the baby, talks to the baby, read books. Beautiful. Eats healthy, gets some exercise. All that is wonderful, right? Negative and positive things that that happens in childhood, because we know childhood trauma could just set you up for either success, for failure later on in life. Well, according to this perspective, the stuff that happens in childhood pretty much dictates, our future. And most theories out there state that things that happen even before birth, while in utero, up until the age of 6 or 7, all that stuff that happens, whether it's negative or positive, pretty much shapes someone's, personality for later on in life. And do I believe that? Sure, absolutely. Who wouldn't? But there's different ways and different approaches to deal with, human understanding, which I'm going to go over right now. So that was your psychoanalytic perspective. Now we have the cognitive perspective. Now, anything to do with the thinking process, anything to do with how you think, that would be the cognitive approach, okay? So, do you think with the glass half full, or do you think with the glass half empty? Come on, let's talk about it. It's only you and I here. Do you think with the glass half full, which is an optimist, or do you think with the glass half empty, which is a pessimist? Do you always put a negative spin on everything? Or do you always put a positive spin on everything? Or maybe I shouldn't use the word almost. Maybe I should use the word mostly, okay? So, in the cognitive perspective would say, well, who you are today is because of the way you think. You're suffering from depressed mood today because you always think negative. It's always doom and gloom with you. Or you're such a total happy person because you're an optimist. You think that with the glass half full, what are you? Which one are you? Okay, so let me tell you a little story. So let's just pretend let's pretend, okay, Fransuelo. I always talk about this fictitious patient named Fransuelo in my classrooms. Fransuelo won the lottery. Yes, he won the lottery, right? He won $50 million. Isn't that wonderful? Well, some of you guys may think it's horrible because you're against, playing the lottery. And some of you guys may think it's, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Anyway, to talk about cognitive and being optimist or a pessimist, Fransuelo wins whatever $1 million, 50. If he's a pessimist, he's going to be like, well, it's not really $50 million. Now everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and, begging me for money. People I haven't seen in over 20 years. They're going to come and say, well, I'm your cousin. Can't you give me money? Well, before that, Uncle Sam's going to come and take a good chunk of it. I don't know, 40% or something like that. And, it's not even $50 million anymore. It's going to be like maybe, 30, probably 20. And then I owe $2 million for my 17 kids of child support. I don't know, so that's going to be down the drain too. And my all these bills I have, oh my goodness, that's down the drain. I got to pay for my grandmother's, heart surgery because she doesn't have insurance, and the list goes on and on and on in Fransuelo's mind. And then I'm only going to have, oh my gosh, I only have like $1.5 million at the end of the day. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, it's horrible. That is how a pessimist would think. But an optimist, like you and I, would be like, oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh, $50 million, that's wonderful. At the end of the day, even if I had $1.5 million left, it's $1.5 million more than you had yesterday. Do you understand? So it's the way you think. You could either think positive or you could think negative. And bottom line, that's it, okay? So next we'll move on to behaviorism, okay? So in behaviorism, the process is, well, behaviors are learned, okay? You are the way you are today because you've learned to behave that way. So if you're negative, you've learned to be negative. If you're positive, you'll learn to be positive. Well, what about the question, well, what about depression? How could you explain that, in a behaviorist point of view? Well, what about depression? A behaviorist would probably say, well, these folks learn to be depressed. You could explain their behaviors as learned. What are some symptoms of depression? Let's just go there, okay? So some symptoms of depression would be what? Go ahead, tell me. Yes, sad mood. What else? You either eat too much or don't eat at all. You sleep all day, you don't sleep at all. Blah, 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 blah. Little Johnny. Let's talk about Little Johnny. Little Johnny, grew up in a household where his mother suffered from depression, okay? So when his mom got sad, his mom would, go to her bedroom, okay? And just close the door, pull down the shades, okay? And he would want to go in there to comfort her and be with her. That's his mom. But his dad would always say, no, you can't, I don't want you going in there. Mommy's a little sad right now. Mommy's not feeling too good. So dad will make excuses for mom's behavior, right? Mommy's having a spell right now, so let's not bother her. Let's just wait till she get over it. She'll get over it. Meanwhile, they're continuing in the household. Dad's doing everything. Mom's in bed crying and sleeping or not eating or what have you. So now, according to this perspective, little Johnny learned how to cope with, when he's sad. He's going to just imitate mom's behavior. So now he's sad. He's going to do what? Go to the room and cry and blah, 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 and be totally down. And that's this perspective's explanation for depression, okay? And again, according to behaviorists, what can be learned or what is learned can be unlearned. So in behavior therapy, they try to pretty much change that negative behavior, okay? So eliminate the negative behavior and focus or adapt new positive type behaviors, and that's the goal for behavior therapy, okay? You with me so far? Wonderful. Okay, what about your bio-neurosciences? And that's just a category really for a lot of different perspectives in psychology. So these perspectives pretty much adhere to the biological side of things, okay? So when in regards to depression, so when you hear on the TV, in the movies, or anything to do with, oh, this person, has a chemical imbalance, in the brain. It's not their fault. It's hereditary. Their mother had it or something like that. It's in their genetic makeup. That's that falls under the bio-neurosciences, okay? And these are the folks that I wouldn't say are quick to go ahead and prescribe medication, but these are the ones that would pretty much say, well, you know what, your serotonin level is off, you know, your this level is off, we need to give you this medication to try to balance your mood out, okay? So that's that perspective. And of course, your humanistic perspective, you know, they're okay with understanding that traumatic things happen in childhood, okay? And most of this perspective adhere to that. Traumatic things may have happened in childhood that, you know, that cause us to think or believe, you know, or act a certain way. But you know what? They're saying, well, let's leave that past behind. Let's leave that in the past, because you know why? We want to concentrate on the here and now and you having a fabulous future. That's it. Let's work with what's going on right now in your life, okay? Because the goal, of course, is for you to be fulfilled and have a great future. All right, so these are the 5 major models in psychology, and this will be on your quiz. All right, guys? And I wish you a happy day. Connect with me, call me, email me if you have any questions at all. This is Dr. Bev Knox.